Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to dive deep into the core pillars of personal finance and completely transform the way you think about and manage your money. Listen, if you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by the idea of building wealth, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're taking those big, complex financial concepts and breaking them down into a highly structured, easy-to-follow roadmap.
So, here is our game plan, taking you step by step from foundational psychology all the way to long-term wealth generation. We're going to cover mastering your money mindset, then rich versus truly wealthy. Next, budgeting and managing debt. After that, the time value of money, and we'll wrap up with investing and market cycles.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Mastering Your Money Mindset.
We have to start right here because we need to acknowledge a hard truth. Financial literacy just isn't taught in schools. Honestly, realizing that fact alone lifts so much of the guilt and puts you firmly back in the driver's seat. It's a stark contrast. A negative mindset just spirals into anxiety and playing the blame game, while a positive mindset builds incredible momentum by actively seeking out solutions. You know, it's often said that getting control of your finances is basically 80% behavior and only 20% actual head knowledge. If you're operating from a place of fear, like believing you're always going to be in debt or that you absolutely have to spend money just to impress other people, well, you're sabotaging your progress before you even start doing the math.
The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that your background does not dictate your future. You, and literally only you, have the power to control your financial decisions moving forward. So give yourself some grace for past mistakes, tune out all the negative distractions, and decide today that you are the architect of your own wealth.
Moving right along to Section 2, Rich versus Truly Wealthy.
Society constantly sells us a very specific and, I gotta say, pretty misleading picture of what success looks like. The mainstream narrative pushes us to work 80 hours a week just to buy this extravagant, flashy, rich lifestyle, a lifestyle that is usually heavily chained to debt. The reality? Many folks out there earning high six-figure salaries are actually living paycheck to paycheck. Their liabilities just massively outweigh their assets. True wealth, on the other hand, is often the boring millionaire. It's the person living quietly below their means, driving a totally average car, but with deep, deep roots of savings and investments.
So, how do you know if you're actually wealthy? Well, you need to calculate your net worth. It's a simple but incredibly powerful metric that basically acts as your personal financial scorecard. Think of it like this. Your assets are things that bring you value. Cash, investments, real estate. Your liabilities are what you owe. Mortgages, car loans, credit card balances. The ultimate goal isn't just snagging a high salary. The goal is a positive and steadily growing net worth.
Now, to actually improve that net worth, you need a clear action plan to track your spending and find exactly where your hard-earned cash is leaking away. Because let's face it, you can't fix what you don't measure. Try this. For one entire month, keep a record of every single transaction. Download your statements, categorize your spending into absolute essentials versus wants, and then ruthlessly seek out areas to cut. Honestly, you might be totally shocked to find you're dropping hundreds of bucks a month on things you don't even really care about.
Okay, let's jump into Section 3, Budgeting and Managing Debt. Once you figure out where your money has been going, it's time to become the boss and tell it where to go next. The 50-30-20 rule is hands down one of the best frameworks out there for giving every single dollar a clear, dedicated purpose. You allocate 50% of your after-tax income to your absolute needs, rent, groceries, keeping the lights on. 30% is yours to enjoy on wants, like dining out or catching a movie. And then a non-negotiable 20% goes straight into savings and investing to lock down your future.
3 to 6. Before you start going crazy with aggressive investing, that is the exact number of months of essential living expenses you need to save up. A bulletproof emergency fund is your financial shock absorber. It ensures that when life inevitably happens, a blown transmission, a surprise medical bill, or a sudden job loss, you don't have to fall back on high-interest credit cards just to survive.
Now, before you start tackling your debt, you really need to understand amortization. It's a fancy word, but here's the secret. Making even slightly larger payments eats directly into the principal balance, which massively reduces the interest you owe over time. Every time you make a loan payment, a chunk goes to the bank as a fee, that's the interest, and another chunk actually pays down what you owe, the principal. By throwing just an extra $50 or $100 at your monthly payment, you directly attack that principal. That in turn lowers the interest they can charge you the very next month. It's a real game changer.
If you feel like you're drowning in monthly payments, you basically have two main escape routes: the emotional momentum of the snowball method or the pure mathematical logic of the avalanche method. With the snowball approach, you pay off your smallest balance first. It gives you this huge, immediate psychological victory. With the avalanche approach, you tackle the highest interest rate first, which mathematically saves you the most money in the long run. The trick? Just choose the one that keeps you fired up and attack your debt relentlessly.
All right, moving to section 4, the time value of money.
I want you to think about this classic thought exercise for a second. Would you rather have $1 million right now or a single penny that doubles every day for a month? Most people take the $1 million instantly. Actually, scratch that, almost everyone does, completely underestimating the explosive math of the doubling penny. It sounds ridiculous, right? A penny doubling. By day 10, you've got, what, about $5? It feels incredibly slow. But right around day 25, the math just explodes. By day 31, that single penny has grown to almost $11 million.
That doubling penny is the absolute perfect illustration of compound interest. This is the exact mechanism that lets your money do all the heavy lifting for you over time. When you invest, your money earns a return. Then that return goes out and earns its own return. The longer you let this cycle run, the more dramatic the growth becomes. This is exactly why economists are always shouting from the rooftops that having money to invest now, at a younger age, is so incredibly powerful. Time is literally the active ingredient in creating wealth.
And you absolutely have to invest, because inflation is out there neutralizing your cash. A static bank account is actually losing purchasing power in real time. If inflation is running at a normal 2% or suddenly spiking up to 8%, but your cash is just sitting in a regular savings account earning a tiny fraction of a percent, you are silently getting poorer every single day. To truly grow your wealth, you've got to put your capital into assets that outpace inflation.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, Investing in Market Cycles.
So many people are completely terrified to invest because all they ever hear about on the news are the crashes. But the market moves in highly predictable cycles. Painful bear markets are historically temporary. They usually only last about 1.5 to 3 years. And here's the best part. They are consistently outlasted by much longer, multi-year bull market expansions, which typically run for 5 to 8 years. The economy expands, stocks go up, and yeah, inevitably things cool off for a bit, but the long-term trajectory is always pointing up.
Get this. Even during the absolute worst-case scenario, I'm talking the 1929 Great Depression, the market dropped 90%, but it eventually stopped falling within 3 years. That proves that downturns always hit a floor eventually. Look, I'm not saying a 90% drop isn't terrifying. It absolutely is. But even in the absolute worst economic disaster of the modern era, the bleeding stopped. Markets correct, but historically, they always recover and expand to new all-time highs. The real secret? Just staying invested.
So to survive those cycles and build genuine, lasting wealth, you need to stick to a few steadfast rules. First, maximize tax-advantaged accounts. Utilize your 401k, especially if there's an employer match. That is literally free money. Leverage a Roth IRA so your investments grow completely tax-free. Second, diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Buy broadly diversified index funds. And finally, automate everything. Set up your accounts to pull money straight from your paycheck automatically. That way, your wealth just builds quietly in the background and you don't have to rely on your daily emotional willpower to make it happen.
So we've covered the psychology, we've broken down the mechanics, and we've mapped out the strategy. But the ultimate question to leave you with is this. What is the very first step you're going to take today to completely rewrite your financial future? Will you finally track your spending for a solid month? Will you set up an automatic $50 transfer to a new investment account? The roadmap is entirely useless if you don't actually put the car in drive. Pick just one habit, make that change today, and step onto your new path to true financial freedom.